Hello everybody, how are you doing? Hope you had a nice Christmas. I have lots of food. It's been great. Anyway, I've been thinking quite a lot about technology and the sort of the modern incarnations of like the cyber world and the online world, and how these kind of technocrats have really kind of become international in their project, really, of kind of reimagining human civilization in sort of cyber terms. And also I was thinking back to earlier academic work on utopia and dystopia. And I just put this blog together because I wanted us to really think about and talk about exactly what this is. And I argue that I think a lot of modern technology and a lot of these modern technocrats and their visions of utopia or dystopia really play into the idea of a cult. And I think it's kind of the first international cult that really seems to be really pushing to kind of reconfigure every aspect of civilization into adhering to its principles, really. So anyway, here's the blog. It's called Technocrats, High Priests of the Latest Doomsday Cults. In early 2020, I attended a conference put on by tech companies in association with the university in Wellington. The opening provocation was something about preventing public pushback to technocracy. I recall candid questions being exchanged, such as, how do we stop them from killing us? That was the tone setter. Not how do we include people or how do we serve the public good, but how do we manage the inevitable irritation of the masses when they realise what's being built for them rather than with them. As the conference unfolded, what struck me most was the paranoia of our self-appointed harbingers of the apocalypse: Bill Gates, Peter Thiel, Mark Andreessen, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk and their various satellites. Beneath the sleek sermons and benevolent rhetoric lies a deep suspicion of the human being. Many of them, and their postulants, appear convinced, after a century of institutionalized technocracy, that the human has become an impediment to progress. There are simply too many people destined for what Yuval Noah Harari calls the useless class, all too fleshy and too fallible to continue serving the sacred pyramid of civilized order. For this divine techno order to flourish, some necrotic flesh will need to be sacrificed, and no prizes for guessing who that will be. Okay, I'm just going to interject there. Yeah, and I think if you really look at the visions, the utopias or the dystopias that these people are putting out, it's all about kind of civilization and order and structure out of chaos. Or sometimes it isn't. It's kind of like embracing chaos or becoming oblivion. Either way, it's these kind of prophecies really of doom. In fact, I would argue that the technocrats and many of our scientific materialists have probably predicted the end of the world more times than your average kind of weird Christian subcult, right? It's like the end of the world seems to be constantly coming out of academia, or indeed kind of utopian projections. I'm just wondering, does this adhere to, or does this qualify as some kind of international cult, really? And I think it does. Anyway, carrying on. To hear the tech gurus speculate, often with messianic intensity, on utopian or dystopian futures has been revealing. What appears to be missing from almost all of these visions is people like you and me, dear reader. The human shows up mainly as a problem to be solved, an inefficiency to be optimized away, or a legacy system awaiting decommission. Depending on which esoteric order you belong to, the apocalypse arrives via one of the four horsemen: war, famine, conquest, or death, with the modern add-on of pestilence for good measure. Whatever the mechanism, extinction is assumed. The debate is not if, but how. From there, the factions emerge. Some devotees of accelerationism argue that we should actively hasten the apocalypse, fusing with technology in order to liberate the human intellect from the messy constraints of the body. This is a rough and ready summation of Nick Land's Dark Enlightenment, but it captures the mood. Abandon the human form, upload what matters, and let the rest burn. Others imagine a post-catastrophe world of technates, planned communities where survivors are neatly organised and every aspect of life is micromanaged by AI, overseen by a priestly class of ordained engineers. It all sounds like dreadful pulp science fiction. The trouble is that it's a fiction sincerely believed by some of the most powerful and influential people on the planet. I see traces of this thinking seeping into policy papers, funding models, research agendas and academic language. Words like legacy, scalability and sustainability quietly replace older ideas such as curiosity, investigation and lived experience. The human is reduced to a sequence of variables and processes, while faceless systems of governance steadily relegate us to the annals of history. And yet, here's where I stay upbeat. This worldview only holds if we accept its premise. It is merely a cult like any other. I refuse the premise that the human is a problem to be solved. We are not a transitional inconvenience on the way to some silicon rapture. We are meaning-making creatures embedded in places, bodies, histories and relationships that cannot be fully reduced to an algorithm. The real danger of this technocratic doomsday cult is not that it predicts the end of the world, but that it might bring about a world without us in it, not through extinction, but through erasure. I do not accept that technocratic utopias or dystopias are the only meaningful options for a future that still includes humanity. As always, Miath Kar. Okay, and so just to expand on that, or to sum it up really, I'm starting to think more and more like this. A lot of my research comes out of this idea of staying in the present. That's what mesotopia is. It is a moment of immediacy, right? It is this idea of focusing completely on the idea of the present. And that's kind of mesotopian logic. Not to disregard the future or not even to plan for the future. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is too many speculations and imaginations and predictions about the future can kind of hold humanity to ransom, really, in this sort of cult-like behaviour where we're constantly terrified of a future. And I just don't accept that. I go on to argue in other blogs and in my thesis and in other papers that I've been writing and at other conferences I've been to that I don't see this kind of future of kind of this fusing of the symbolic and the machine and the human all together into one singularity that all these people see. I also don't see AI completely replacing human innovation. In fact, I will go on, and I've got another blog coming up later on about this. I don't like the term artificial intelligence. It is a misnomer. It is not intelligence that you are dealing with. You are dealing with a machine that is a super processor and is incredibly useful, but it is not an intelligence. It cannot reflect on what it's written. It cannot feel satisfaction or kindness or empathy or all these sort of physical processes because it is detached from the body, which is a big part of meaning making, as I argue all the way through in my thesis. Anyway, that's just a quick blog to start another subsection of my blog on this idea of technocracy and why we should be pushing back on this and why I've given up on a lot of my digital phones and digital communications. Yes, I've still got like my website, etc., but I'm really pulling back on this idea of surrendering every aspect of my life to digital communications or digital interventions. Anyway, I hope you're really well. I hope you have a really good new year, and I will see you in the new year for more regular blogs. Please like, subscribe, or share any content that you find interesting or challenging. Please leave a comment if you'd like to add anything. I do answer them. I have been sent loads of messages, particularly regarding NATO, and I've been answering those. So I find it quite strange, really, that even people who profess to be on the left seem to be very upset with my criticisms of NATO, which is quite remarkable, considering NATO was really started as an anti-left-wing organisation, really. So I don't really understand where that's coming from. Anyway, it's really good to get that kind of feedback, because it does make me think that people are responding to what I'm doing. And I know some people don't like commenting online because people don't like talking about politics or anything online anymore because it just descends into chaos. I completely understand that. So I'm more than happy just to answer comments or emails privately. But anyway, I look forward to seeing some of you in the flesh in the new year, which will be great. And take care, and see you next week. Bye-bye.